Hello, Indian River County. My name is Cindy Emerson, your Director of Instructional Innovation. On today's episode of Insight to Innovation, we have our STEAM team here wanting to share some of the amazing things that are going on within Indian River County Schools. I have Mitzi DeRocco, STEAM Specialist, Jenn Norris, the new principal of Osceola Magnet School, and Dr. Chadwick Bacon, the new principal of Gifford Middle School. To start off with, I'm going to ask each of them a little bit about their educational background. Mr. Rocco, can you tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming a STEAM specialist for Indian River County?
Absolutely. I started at Vero Beach High School. I taught biology, marine science. I taught a plethora of sciences here at Vero Beach High School. And then I transferred over to Sebastian Middle, where I taught 7th grade science and did a number of things on campus, worked with the faculty in various ways, and then was brought on to be the STEAM specialist for the district. I work with April Perez, the STEAM coordinator, Assistant Superintendent Kelly Basura. I work with Ann Bieber, who is the Director of Secondary Education, and Kim Garcia, who is the Elementary Secondary.
Yes. And so we have some really great things that are going on in Indian River County that we're going to get to in a moment. But Ms. Jenn Norris, can you talk to me about your journey to getting over to Osceola Magnet as principal?
Sure. So I am a second generation Vero Beach native. I was born and raised here, went to Citrus Elementary, Gifford Middle, and Vero Beach High School. Went over to UCF and came back home to teach, came back home to my hometown. And so I began teaching in Orlando and transferred back here to teach first grade at Rosewood Magnet School. Taught there for a number of years and then moved into the leadership position of assistant principal, where I was helping really grow the core knowledge component at Rosewood Magnet, and then began integrating STEAM into that a few years ago, and have always wanted to move into principalship position. And so when Dr. Moore contacted me and said, you know, there's a position that I really think you'd be great for, I was very willing to make the move and help support moving Osceola forward.
Great. And then Dr. Bacon, can you talk to us a little bit about your journey to Gifford Middle School?
So I grew up in upstate New York in the foothills of the Adirondacks. My path was a little untraditional to academia. I started out after graduating Vocational Educational Technical Center with a degree in auto collision repair. My dad turned wrenches his whole life. He wanted more for me. So I went to college for electrical engineering. I was kind of adamantly against going to college. I'd already done high school and I was done and I was ready to go into the profession, but my father wanted more. So I got an electrical engineering degree, and then I just had a passion for higher education, and then I went on to get a industrial technology engineering degree, an MBA, and my doctoral degree. After I had graduated with my 4-year degree from the State University of New York, I came down to open Samuel Gaines Academy and build a state-of-the-art STEAM facility in St. Lucie County, where I serviced kindergarten through 8th grade students in 2 different settings. I then had various administration roles in St. Lucie County, from a K-8 charter to a high school. I then came to Indian River County at Sebastian Elementary for 4 years as assistant principal. And then after that, I was at Osceola Magnet as the principal for 2 years. And then I was given this opportunity by Dr. Moore to go to Gifford Middle School recently and become the principal there.
Well, and I can't wait to talk a little bit more about where Gifford Middle School is going. But I first want to start with our STEAM designation process, because that's something that the district took on. And Ms. Rocco, can you tell us about what the STEAM designation process is and why that's going to be beneficial for the school district and our students and families?
Absolutely. So, you know, integrating real-world application into what we do in our classrooms is important regardless of the subject area that you teach. Making sure that we're blurring the lines between classroom to classroom and making an experience for students that literally goes from start to finish throughout their day, throughout the year. And really making sure that they understand what we're learning about in school is going to eventually become what they will do in society to contribute. So it is very important that we make those connections or help them make those connections for themselves later on down the road. For our STEAM designation, we wanted to encourage that throughout the school district. This year we have 12 schools participating. Osceola and Gifford are both two of those schools. In the past, we had Osceola as a gold school. We rate them gold, silver, and bronze. We also have participating schools, and those are ways of identifying accomplishments, achievements, and next steps, and to just recognize some of the hard work that some of the other schools have done. We had Storm Grove Middle last year be a gold school, which was an enormous accomplishment, and Rosewood Elementary as well was also a gold school. So we are really excited about the next steps this year for STEAM designation. We also wanted to make sure that we were supporting our teachers in this process so that they can then support the students. So we have redesigned what the EPIC STEAM teacher looks like so that those teachers who are participating in EPIC STEAM are going to be supporting that EPIC school, that STEAM school designation, so that everybody is working together for the greater good in that whole.
You are giving me chills. That is really exciting. For the viewers at our home that maybe don't know what STEAM stands for, can you just tell them a little bit about what the acronym STEAM stands for so they understand?
Absolutely. So STEAM actually initially started as STEM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And what we're looking at is that engineering design process, taking in that real world concept and tying together science and math using technology in innovative ways. Sometimes those technologies have not been created yet. Sometimes they are technologies we have today. Awesome. It just depends on the approach that the student wants to take or the activity that leads to what those students are going to be doing. In our district, we really do recognize the importance of arts, and arts is a huge department of STEAM. So it's language arts, it's digital arts, it's performing arts, it's everything that really kind of does not fit into the science, the technology, the engineering, or the math. So there are just so many ways to access that A in STEAM to tie it all together.
And there's no doubt why you are one of the STEAM specialists, because you have me pumped up and excited about learning with that integrated approach. And so Osceola Magnet being a gold school, Dr. Bacon, can you talk us through some of the process that led to Osceola getting there? And then Jen, I'm going to come right back to you and ask you what's your plans moving forward at Osceola Magnet?
So initially coming into Osceola Magnet, it was obvious that all of the right players were in all of the right places. Mm-hmm. It just needed to be trusted. It needed to be oiled, if you will, so that it would turn into a smooth running machine. So I think it was the prime example of a group of individuals, and when I say a group, an entire school of individuals that were fully vested, and the work had begun. 2 years prior to me showing up. These teachers were on their own time, in their own dime. They were traveling across the state to go and visit an elementary school on the west coast of Florida that had already implemented and perfected this process at the elementary level, and is the only elementary school on the west coast to be a school of engineering at the K-5 level, to then replicate that and bring it back to be the only elementary school on the east coast of Florida where they're focusing on engineering at a K-5 level. It gives you chills when you walk into a room and you see third graders, fourth graders, and fifth graders designing to solve real-world applications using the principles of engineering and the principles of design and rapid prototyping, and using 3D printers to design and develop and create solutions too. And if it doesn't stop there, I know that at the tail end of last year, the team had come to me to update their animal adaptations unit to create prosthetic beaks for owls that they visited our school with the endangered animal guy, and they want to create a lowered prosthetic beak for the owl that didn't have a prosthetic beak. So the kids are seeing issues and problems, and they are going to their teachers wanting to create and solve, knowing the capabilities that they have in this facility. So again, it was putting the measures in place to allow for that innovation and creativity to flourish. So bringing bringing subs in and giving teachers half days or full days to collaboratively plan and create integrated vertical plans that took all areas of the school as a whole and blended them together so that they were cohesive units with consistent design challenges. So they would learn the same concepts across math, ELA, science, reading, and then they would go to the lab. They would visit on a rotating basis to the lab, and they would turn the process into reality. So giving that ability to have true cross-curricular integration with all players at the table. It's, you know, it's easy to say and easy to talk about. It's another thing to make it happen, but most definitely top-notch crew over there, and it was an absolute pleasure to be there for the 2 years that I was there.
Well, it's really good to hear the passion around building this gold school environment. What kind of community partners were brought in to help with this design process and engineering and the STEAM designation approach you took over at Osceola Magnet?
So we reached out to the Ed Foundation through the grant process for the first year, and we were able to get funding to bring in the 3D printer and all of the ancillary products associated with it. The 3D printers are relatively inexpensive. It's the filament that you put into the 3D printer that turns into a very expensive component of that process. So through the Ed Foundation, we were able to solidify that grant the first year. Through the first year, we also were able to get community sponsors and supports from C.W. Willis. They donated thousands and thousands of dollars of plants and mulch and man hours and the ability for our PTA to partner with them and do Point Sienna sales and bring in thousands and thousands of dollars through our PTA, which our PTA was a huge component of being able to go to them and justify you know, spending large amounts of money and why we wanted to spend that money and what that was going to result in and what the outcome was going to be, and having them, you know, wholeheartedly back us. I would also say that the small sponsors. So we had a program at Osceola Magnet where you could, for $250 or $500, you could get a 3x5 banner put up that would advertise your business. So when you drive through and you drop your kids off, you see these different. It's a twofer. You see these different companies that are being promoted from the school. They then get free marketing, but we were able to solicit funds to then drive the program and support field trips, transportation for field trips that got kids out into a day of the life in the lagoon with the ELC. But it really it was really a group effort. So the small sponsorships, you know, off the top of my head, I think Osceola Magnet had 21 or 24 sponsorship programs last year from around the community. Anytime Fitness, Revive Therapy, again, C.W. Willis. I know at the time we had a Cub Scout group that was an affiliate organization. There was a small handful of spouses that their husbands or wives had businesses, and they would donate and get sponsorship through it as well. So it was just really, it was the epitome of a community grass movement to make sure that it was taken off the ground and could be sustained.
Well, you know, at the School District of Indian River County, we have the mantra that we're SDIRC, stronger together. And it's evident that if you want to build it and make it sustainable, you have to bring in the community partners. And you guys have done such a great job. All right, Ms. Norris, as the new principal of Osceola Magnet, where are we going next with Osceola Magnet?
Well, we are very excited because they, like Dr. Bacon said, that, you know, it's a well-oiled machine, right? And so we're looking at how do we make it even better. So every year the teachers are going back and saying, what can we do differently? How can we integrate it better? So this year we started the year off really reevaluating our design challenges and looking at our new math curriculum and our new amplified curriculum and how do we marry the two? How do we make this a cross-content experience for our students, and how do we build them into thinkers? In order to be an innovator, you have to be a thinker. And so how do we build that in throughout the day in some of those what people think are mundane tasks, such as math? And so really capitalizing on Peter Liljadal's Building Thinking Classrooms. And so we now have over 80% of our staff that is trained in Building Thinking Classrooms. So anytime I walk into a math class, the students are up, they're moving, they're talking, they're collaborating on simple math, what would appear to be simple math topics, but really looking at how do we integrating that throughout the day. And so our next step after, now that we're over 80% trained in our building thinking classrooms, is how do we integrate that in the ELA content? And so we're working towards that. So we are also looking at, we're using some of the education, we're applying for an Education Foundation grant to help supply the materials that are needed to now meet the demands of the teachers that are now building thinking classrooms trained. And so getting more of the vertical boards and the whiteboards, the markers, and more of the tools that the teachers need in order to make that happen on a daily basis. And so we're also looking at how do we integrate that through literature? How do we bring more of that literature piece in, and how do we make the technology, how do we beef that up? And so through the Media Center with Mrs. Parentella, how is she integrating that? How are we integrating that throughout the school day? How are we using the 3D printers? How are we using, we have new VR goggles that were sponsored and, for us by the PTA. How are we using those for the full benefit of our students, taking them on those virtual field trips? How are we using, we have 2 new Moxie robots that are teaching students how to really those real world applications and problem solving, how to identify, hey, this is what's happening with me and this is how I need to respond. And so we have these 2 Moxie robots that we're looking at integrating throughout the day. And so really just taking it up a level, and the staff is very dedicated. They are problem solvers. They're literally modeling building thinking classrooms themselves as adults.
I love this so much. And, under your leadership and guidance, I don't know if they can get a double gold, but it sounds like Osceola is, just a model environment for really bringing the teachers along and encouraging that it's being built from the ground up.
Right. We're also looking at bringing in we had 2 EPIC STEAM teachers that were recognized over the summer. And seeing the need for that professional development to really help guide our teachers along this process. It's been a grassroots movement of let's have more of our teachers EPIC STEAM trained. So our goal is for over 80% of our teachers to be EPIC STEAM trained by the end of the school year as well.
Well, you and Dr. Bacon are so inspiring. It really makes me sad not to be a principal anymore, to hear the kind of work that you're doing and the foundation that's being built for our entire community. I think so many schools are going to learn from the example of Osceola Magnet. So Dr. Bacon, you have taken on now Gifford Middle School. What is in the works there to bring it from participating to like this double gold standard that we have over at Osceola?
No pressure, right? So we have brought over Mr. John Martin. He was the science teacher at the high school for a number of years. He is our science department chair. We are offering, we're the only middle school to offer a high school science credit through the Marine Science Honors Program. We have grants in the works to partner with Harbor Branch to get the students that are in this program field experience as lagoon scientists, to go out and actually meet 2 of the 100 data points that they have in the lagoon that tracks data and updates data every 5 minutes with oxygen content, algae content, to monitor whether algae blooms are coming or going, salt content, so the salinity of the water. But it's really going to be great to go from that theoretical to the practical in field, and hopefully we build some environmental stewards along the way. But the hopes of the program is, I do have high expectations and high hopes is to be a model for the state in this program. And we're in the process of building a wet lab and a dry lab for the science department that's housed in the same wing. We are entering in the Embry-Riddle Sea Perch competition, which are underwater robots that go underwater and actually sample, similar to the data points I was referring to in the lagoon. They go underwater and they do different tests and different samples. But the students actually will be a part of an after-school club that excuse me, in turn will go and compete in Cocoa Beach at the Embry-Riddle competition with other schools across the country that come to the state of Florida as well. So very, very, very high hopes, trying to do that through the vehicle of collaborative planning in a very structured collaborative planning environment, administration being a part of the collaborative planning environment so that it's very intentional, and through that focusing strategically on monitoring student learning, student engagement, and high quality formative assessments with a now what component, as to whether the student, your formative assessments are the ability to take a pulse of whether the student understands what it is that you're teaching at any given point in time, but then transferring that over to the now what, so the students got it. Now what? How do you enrich those students? Students kind of got it. How do you remediate? Students didn't get it at all. How do you reteach? And how do you do that in synchronicity of the classroom, like a conductor of an orchestra? How do you get that to move? So there's coaching cycles that are going to start taking place in the science department as well as across the campus. We too as well have a math teacher that has taken on the challenge of building thinking classrooms. He has gone to the training. Our math coach has gone to the training. So then going in and seeing, what some said wasn't possible at a secondary level for student engagement, going in and seeing kids up interacting with, communicating with, and collaborating with one another, and toiling and struggling through the mathematical equations that they're working on, while the teacher is able to move around the room and support those students. Truly takes it to the next level, because that peer-to-peer conversation is just such a high-yield strategy that we don't typically execute or capitalize on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I mean, you walked into a school with Tasha Jones as the principal there, who laid the groundwork for some really strong community partnerships. And I know that you've been working really hard with those community partners to keep it going and flourishing. So can you talk about some of the external supports that you have and some that you're working on bringing in to Gifford?
Absolutely. So, many people don't know that Gifford Middle School is a historical school. It's a historical site. So we do have the Alumni Association that's partnered with us, and really cool in our media center is we have a room that is filled with artifacts that are rooted in the history of Gifford Middle School, but used to be Gifford High School, and the transformation all the way to, it's a powerful room to walk into when you look and it's laid out in a timeline, if you will, and you see the artifacts and you read the articles and see the rich heritage that's there and the pride that's associated with that school. I have a meeting this Friday with Dr. Moore and the Alumni Association to talk about future plans associated with Gifford Middle School. Very excited about that. So that is continuing to be open. I know that was the groundwork was laid with Miss Jones for the legacy room that I'm referring to. And we also have a hallway in the front office that is it's the Freedom Shrine. So it's got documents that are posted on the wall. That it's also in kind of a chronological timeline. If you go through and read, it's just very powerful, the rich history associated with that school. So I'm looking forward to what this meeting holds on Friday with Dr. Moore and the Alumni Association. We've already had Aiello Landscaping come out and donate man hours and donate hundreds of plants and trees and shrubs, in addition to Brightview coming out beyond the Brightview contract that they have with the district as a whole, but donating 800 bags of mulch and having a beautification event where we had parents come out from our PTA, community members come out, students come out and support to get the campus up to par and to get the campus looking top notch for the first day of school. So there's been a lot of energy and effort placed on it. And I think it was Miss Beth Christofelli said that kind of resonated with me. It kind of all starts outside. You know what I mean? The actual aesthetics of the school, it all starts outside. So you kind of set the bar high.
Yeah.
But this campus looks absolutely beautiful. Full renovation, brand new roofs, brand new air conditioners. So I left Osceola Magnet over the summer, and I think they were having like a floor tile replaced. And I came to Gifford Middle, and the entire campus was under construction. So that was definitely a heavy lift.
As a parent of a student at Gifford Middle, I was so excited to see the transformation this year at orientation. And I know the students feel proud to walk on that campus, and I know parents do as well.
I've heard the same thing. And then if I had a kid at Gifford, what are some of the extended learning opportunities there? Because I know you brought in, and Tasha brought in, some community partners in the extended space also.
So we do have a couple offerings as of right now, and we're actually building that capacity. We have the Gifford Youth Orchestra that comes in every day after school, and these are students from around the county that come in and work with different instructors, and they are a string quartet like a chamber course. So they come in and they learn how to play string instruments, which is phenomenal. As a parent of a daughter that plays the violin, there's so much power behind that. Treasure Coast Girls Coalition. I met the director of Treasure Coast Girls Coalition early in the process. I think it was my second day at Gifford Middle, and she was loading up a 13-passenger van with girls from the school to go somewhere in Central Florida to get exposed to a form of science. These girls show aptitude for the science profession, the science career. They show interest in it. So it's an amazing organization that is working with these girls to expose them to different professions associated with science, different. The Treasure Coast is rich in the sciences, so the director taking the time to identify different trips for these girls to go on to kind of open their eyes to what's possible is really powerful. Another group that we are partnered with is the Crossover Mission, who happens to be, our neighbors. They're right around the corner. I'm going Wednesday to see their facility, and they are finishing up. I believe it's like a 3,000 square foot warehouse that they've converted into this extended day learning facility for youth of Gifford community that they then root in the principles and discipline of basketball. So it's super powerful. I got to meet the two individuals that are over that and listen to their very powerful story of kind of how they met and how they got that to grow. So very promising, tons of potential, and many more things to come beyond that.
It is so amazing to hear so many different avenues for the community to get involved within our school to support the STEAM designation process. And so if you are at home and you want to participate, you can reach out to Principal Norris over at Osceola Magnet or Principal Dr. Bacon over at Gifford Middle. Or you can go and join the Education Foundation in funding some of the high impact grants that both schools will be applying for. We are so fortunate to have such a strong STEAM designation process, and it's great to have coordinators like April Perez come on the show and specialists like Mitzi Dorocco to really share what the district's doing to continue to elevate us and bring us to the next level. So we hope you enjoyed today's Insight to Innovation focused on STEAM designation. Have a great day.